In today's video, we will be creating some vision and goals pages. We'll be creating 2 single page layouts and 1 spread. I will then show a doggy themed version of each just to give you some more ideas of what you can possibly do. There are many more ways that you can create this type of planner page, but hopefully I'll show you enough that'll give you a strong foundation and a fantastic starting point to creating your very own designs. So let's go ahead and jump into InDesign and get things started. So we will be starting with our vision page. That will be one of our single pages. Let's go over here and let's create a new spread. We're going to come to the plus. When we're selected in here, we're going to come to the plus, and I'm going to rename this because these are going to be, I'm going to first do 2 single pages. One's going to be a vision page and one is going to be a small goals page. So I'm going to do this vision/goals. I can just do them next to each other. So let's go over here. Let's start on the left side. And we are first going to start by creating a box. We're going to come over to the rectangle tool on the left-hand side. And we are going to create a box that is 3 inches wide by 1.4 inches high. And I am going to apply our object styles that we created in episode 8. If you don't have your styles menus over here, just come up to window, come down to styles, and then you can bring up the windows this way. We created this object style, like I said, in episode 8. And so if you don't have it and haven't been following, you can go back to that. But basically, it is just a 0.5 inch stroke, 70% black, and we have the corners rounded. So that is it. So you can just create that yourself if you want. Or you could just leave the box as is. All right, so what I want to show you here is how you can split a box. We're going to cut a chunk out of this box here so we can put text in the middle. So let's zoom in a bit so you can see the lines and what we are doing. What we're going to do is use the scissor tool, which is over here. It should be over here in your tools panel, and it just looks like a pair of scissors. And now, once that's selected, when you hover over the line until you get a little crosshair, and once you have that, you're able to click and it will create a little cut. So we're going to try to have this somewhat in the middle, but we can always adjust it later. So I'm going to make one cut here, and then I'm going to move over here and I'm going to make another cut. All right, now I know this is hard to see. It's very small, but we now have some little cuts in our box here. So if I come up back to the selection tool, I can click on this and drag it, and it's, see, cut out. So I'm just going to go ahead and just delete that because I wanted to create a little space here for some text. So now we're going to come over to our type tool, and we are going to create a text box in the middle. And I am going to do this a 15 point, and we're going to use our Adorn Roman, which is something I've been using the entire series. And we are going to do our 70% black. And I am going to type the word family. And that actually fits okay, to be quite honest. Let's have this centered in the text box here. And that actually fits okay. And this is how I want it. There's a little gap on each side. What I want to do, because I didn't measure whether or not this is directly in the center. So in order to tell, I'm going to select both the text and the box. Then I'm going to select again the box to make that our key selection. And I am going to say to center horizontally. So now once I do that, I can see that my opening wasn't exactly even. I could make this a little narrower, but I think that that's fine. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull this out a little bit. So let me zoom in again so I can show you. We want to come over to our direct select tool. That's basically the filled arrow. And let's click on the box, and you're going to see a little node here. I don't know that you can see it in the video, but there's a little node right on the end. You want to click, hold, and just drag it over. Hold shift to make sure it stays straight, because otherwise you can drag it all wonky. We don't want to do that. We just want to make it a little bit wider, and that looks about right, and that is close enough. And now we know, like, this is even and this is centered, and there we go. That's what we were looking for. That's what I was trying to accomplish. So now I am going to copy this whole box, hold Alt, hold Shift, click and drag, and I'm going to copy it over here. There's a little more of a gap than I was expecting, but that's fine. We'll move it in a little bit. I'm not going to change the size of these boxes for this one. All right, now I'm just going to change this text. I want to say health. And I think that that's still a good enough gap there. There's going to be some longer words, so we're going to have to adjust some of these. So now I'm going to I'm going to select everything here, and I'm going to hold Option Shift, and I'm going to click, hold, and drag down to make a copy. And we're going to change this text yet again. This one is going to be career. And we can already see that's not fitting. We'll go back and fix it in a second. And this one's going to be finances. And this one's definitely not going to fit either. So let's start over here. First thing we want to do is we want to make this text box so that it fits. So let's go ahead and so the word fits in it. There we go. That's good. Now we want to center it to this box. So again, we're going to select our text, select the outside box. Now we're going to select it again to give it our blue key select box. And we're going to say center horizontally. And that's actually not terrible as far as, I think I might want to move it up a little bit, but that's not terrible as far as space here. But if we want to add a little bit more, we're going to come to our direct select tool, click on our box, click on the end. It might be hard to see the little dot, but you know you're there because when the mouse is over it, you get that little white filled box. So click, hold Shift, and drag over a little bit. We just want to give it a little bit of a gap here. I think that's probably pretty good. And now let's do the same on this side. Doesn't need to be perfect, but there we go. All right, now we're going to do the same thing over here. Make this box bigger. I'm still on the direct select tool. Let's switch back to the selection tool. Let's make this big enough where we can see our whole word. All right, so we have our text. We're going to select our text. We're going to select our box. Select our box again to give us our blue, and we are going to center this horizontally. And now we are going to make some adjustments. Direct select tool, click on the end, wait until you have that little white box, click and hold, drag over, hold Shift, give ourselves a nice little gap there. And now we're going to do the same thing over here. Same thing. Looks good. All right, so let's go ahead and let's do this for all of these. Drag these down to copy those. We are going to change this one to relationship. And we are going to change this one to community. And then let's go ahead and let's copy and paste these one more time. And this one's going to be spiritual. And this one is going to be travel. And then we're going to copy it one more time on the bottom. And this time we are going to leave these blank so that your customer can put in whatever it is that they want to put in. Okay, I'm just adjusting these a little bit because we ran out of room on the bottom. And don't forget, we want to add, I should have done this first. We'll add a title here Now we might be a little close. We might have to do a little adjusting, but that's okay. So we're going to say my vision. So these are basically your vision. This is your vision for your life for the year. So we're going to make this our paragraphs, paragraph style page headers that we created in the first episode. And yeah, that's a little tight there. So I definitely want to bring things down a little bit. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to eyeball it because I think this will be fine. Because if I try to space things, these aren't the same heights necessarily, and this doesn't have words, and I just don't know that it will work all that well, but I think that's fine. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to fix these just like I showed you the top, but you've already seen it 4 times now, so you don't need to see it another 4 times. So I'm just going to go fix these really quick, and I'll be right back. Okay, we are all set. That's what we're looking like. Nice and simple, just a simple visions page where your customer can basically set their goals for different parts, different aspects of their life, and see how far they come throughout the year. Of course, there are many other ways that you can create a vision page, but this is just one example. So now I want to move over to a simpler goals page. We will do a whole spread next, but right now we're going to do just a simple goals page. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is make a few boxes. So actually, you know what? First, I'm going to go ahead and add a title so I don't mess up like I did last time and run out of room. So let's go ahead. Let's make our title. Let's say my goals. And then we are going to use the paragraph style of page headers that was created in the first episode. All right, first thing we're going to do is we are going to create a box. We're going to create it margin width and about 2.4 inches high. Looks about right. And we are going to make this one 2-point stroke. And we're going to give it a color, one of our colors. Peach is fine. And we are going to round the corners a bit. We don't need it that rounded. Let's do it like that. Okay, that looks good. All right, so that's our first box. And now we're going to create some boxes within this box. So we are going to create 3 boxes here. Okay, so the first one, come over to the rectangle tool and we're going to click. And the first box is going to be 1.65 wide by 0.29 high. Okay, and that is our first box. We're going to go ahead and we're going to apply our object style, and we are going to have to lower down this corner a bit because the box is so small. So we're just going to take it down 1. Sorry. Okay, let's zoom in a little bit here. I don't know what kind of craziness my computer is doing. Okay, so we need 2 of these, so I'm just going to hold Option Shift and click and drag to make another copy. Let's go ahead and make another box. This one is going to be also 1.65, but it's going to be a little bit taller at 0.47. Okay, and we also want to apply our object style of boxes. Let's also bring the corners down a little bit. Okay, that is good. So now these bad boys are going to go over here. We're just going to drag them here for right now. We'll figure it out. The exact spacing in a short little while. But for now, they can go here. Now we need one bigger box here where we're going to create our actions. So let's one more box. And this one is going to be 4.08 wide by 1.86 high. And we are again going to create our object styles and boxes. I know that I'm not showing you how to actually calculate all this out, but I don't want to have you stuck too long on figuring this out. So we want to leave a little space up top for a title. So we're going to leave this down here kind of close to the edge. Now what we are going to do is we are going to create a table. So come up to table, create table, And this table is going to be 7 rows by 2 columns. And we're going to say OK, and we are going to drag it in the middle of this box, leaving a little bit of space around the edges. Now select our table. We are going to use our cell style for the lines, and we are also going to resize this. So cell options, rows and columns. And this time I'm not going to do 7 because there's not enough space for it. So I'm going to do 6.4 millimeters this time. It's still pretty close, but it gives us a little more space. Now, this is what we have so far. We want to bring this down. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to add some little check boxes here. So we're going to create some tiny little squares. So let's come over to the rectangle tool. And now we are going to, I really don't know what's going on with my computer. We are going to create our little squares to be 0.1261, 0.1261. So they are little. Zoom in here. I am going to round the corners a slight little bit. So I'm going to, because these are so, see how it becomes a circle because it's so small. So I'm going to round these 0.011, 0.011. You don't even have to if you don't want to. I just think it's a little softer when you do that. I am also going to get rid of this stroke, and I'm going to fill the box with our peach color. All right, now we have our little box. That's why it doesn't fit. It didn't fit in this box. That's why I was so confused. Okay, so what we need to do now is we need to get rid of this top line. That's why I was a little confused a minute ago. So let's go ahead and get rid of the top line here. We don't need that. So with the top selected, we're going to say 0 point, and that makes more sense now. So now we have this little guy. We are going to copy and paste him into the cell on the left side. All right, we made him a little bit bigger. He is now 0.1397. Not that much bigger, but a little bit. So let's copy. Let's go over here and let's paste him in. It does look a lot bigger once it's pasted in. So we're pasting, we're pasting, we're pasting. So we should have 7 of these guys in here now at this point. Let's go ahead and delete him. We don't need him anymore. What I want to do now is I want to resize this so that it just comes right up to our squares. So I don't even know if you can see the line because there's no stroke, but it's there. If you're following along, you should see it. So when we hover over it, it's going to have that double arrow. We want to slide it over, hold shift. And that way you can slide just this line, and you're just you're not resizing the whole thing. So we're going to come right as close as we can there. And now what we're going to do is we're going to select this column, and we are going to get rid of the lines. So we don't want any of these lines. So any of the horizontal lines. So we make sure horizontal lines are selected, and we're going to say 0. Okay, let's see what that looks like. There we go. That's what we're looking for. I can go ahead and maybe drop this down just a little bit. And yep, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for little check boxes where we can write our actions. So now what I would like to do is add a text, a title here. So let's go ahead and make a text box the same width as this box. And I am going to say actions. And I am going to make this our paragraph style section headers that we created in a previous, but you can choose whatever works best for you and whatever you like. But we just want it to be a little bit bigger because it's, going to be covering this whole box. And now we can work over here with these. So what I'm going to do with these guys, let's make sure that are they still straight? Yeah, they look straight. All right, let's move these over a little bit centered to here. This guy can come up. Let's create another text box here. And this one we want to say goal. And again, we're going to use our section paragraph style or section headers paragraph style. Probably bring it down a little bit. All right, now let's hold Option and Shift and drag down. And now we're going to change this to Y. And now let's bring this box up closer so we have enough room for another one here. And again, we're going to hold Option, Shift, and drag down. And we're going to say, for here, deadline. And you can see I am not very even. So let's go ahead and let's drive this up a bit. And this can come down. Make it a little more even. Just eyeball it, move it around, what looks good, what feels good. All right. So there we go. There is our first one. We have our goal, we have our why, we have our deadline, and we have our actions. Very, very simple goal setting. So now all we need to do at this point is we are going to group this all together so that we can easily copy and paste, and we're going to hold Alt and Shift, click and drag down. And then I'm going to edit and I'm going to duplicate. And that doesn't look too bad. We could bring the whole thing down. That's fine. And the one other thing I wanted to do here, so now we have 3 goals that we might want to set, but I want to change these colors a bit because it'd be easier to have nice to have different colors on the page. So what we can do is let's go ahead and ungroup these because it's going to be easier. So I'm going to select everything I want to ungroup. I'm going to hold Command Shift or Control Shift and then hit G, and it will ungroup everything that we had grouped. All right, so let's change all these. Let's do our blue color. And then we can do the purple or the green, whatever you like, whatever you prefer. Okay. So now that's cute. We have 3 different sections for 3 different goals, and we have 3 different colors. We've jazzed it up a bit, so that looks cute. Those are our basic single page vision and goals pages. Now what I want to show you is a bigger goals page. It's going to be an entire spread. So let's come over here and let's add a new spread. All right, so we're going to name this one, we're going to name it Goal Planner, because this is a bigger actual planner. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add a header so I don't screw up again with the dimensions. So let's go ahead and add a text box that is margin width, and we are going to call this a goal planner. All right, we are now going to use our page header paragraph style, and we are ready to move on now. So we are going to create our first box, which will be 3.14 by 1.55. So 3.14 inches by 1.55 inches, and I am going to apply our object style boxes, right, that we created in a previous video. I'm going to move this on up here, maybe down a little bit more, so it's not smothering it. Okay, now I'm going to copy this over here. I'm going to say Option, Shift, click, hold, drag over. Okay, so it looks like I'm a little too wide, so I'm going to go ahead, drag both of these, resize it. And actually, I'm going to want this to be 2 smaller boxes, so now that I know the correct width, I'm going to go ahead and I am going to make this smaller, and then I'm going to hold Option and Shift and drag down till I'm about the right gap that I want. Now I'm going to select both, click, hold, and drag this to make it level. So now I have the 3 boxes that I wanted up top. Now I'm going to make 2 more boxes underneath, and I am going to make those boxes, let's do 3 by 2.4. 3 by 2.4. Okay, and I'm going to use my option or object styles boxes again. And let's go ahead and move this guy over here to the left. I want to leave a gap here because I want to have room for a title. And so I want to copy this over here. So I am going to hold Option and Shift, and I'm going to drag a copy over here. And now I need to resize, so I'm going to select both and then drag it over to the margin. All right, so now we're cooking. Let's go ahead and let's add some text to this so you know what you're looking at. Because right now you're only seeing a bunch of boxes, right? So we're going to grab the type tool and we are going to drag a box in the top here. And we are going to name this one goal. And I'm going to, I think I'm going to use, will the section be too? Okay, no, that's good. Let's do the section one. And let's just bring it up a little bit. So that's our section header. If you don't have that one because you didn't watch that episode, it's just an 18-point font. So you can pick whatever font you want, do it around the same size, 18, center it there, and you will be good. Now, we're going to do the same thing over here. Let's drag a box here. And I want this to say start date, but I'm going to say start and then hit enter and then say date. And let's also make this the section header. I'm going to left align that. I just want it lined up to the side. I don't really like the gap between. I don't like it for some reason when there's a big gap between. So I'm going to reduce the leading by coming over here. And we're just going to go down a little bit. And that looks better to me. So I want to do the similar thing with target date down here. So I'm just going to copy and paste it down. So hold Option Shift or Alt Shift and click drag down. And then I'm just going to change start to target. And that's what I'm doing there. And so for these boxes, I'm going to create it above them. So let's go ahead and let's create a text box there. And we're going to say motivation. And let's make this section header. And I think that we don't need that big of a gap. So let's move that up a little bit. And we'll move this up a little bit. And now I can go ahead and move this over here. All right, let's go ahead, select both of these boxes and select the left one again to give it the blue key object. And then we're going to hit the align to top edge. And that way those two boxes are exactly aligned. And I'm going to just change the text to roadblocks. All right, now we're cooking. I am such a dork. All right, now we are going to create a table on the bottom for our action steps. We are going to create a table. It is going to be 6 rows and 3 columns. And we are basically just going to fill the bottom, just leaving a little gap here for our headers. Let's go ahead and fill this. All right, now let's highlight the table. We are going to make this, I'm not going to use the line styles because I want to keep the other strokes. So I'm just going to manually change it to 0.5 and our 70% black. And I want to right click and say cell options text. And I want to center, align center vertically here. Vertical align center, my goodness. And let's just get rid of the cell insets because we don't really need those, just so they don't get in the way. And we want to come over here in our paragraph, we want centered as well. So now what I want to do is I'm going to insert some boxes. And to do that, to find them within InDesign, not just regular boxes, I am going to use symbols that come within InDesign. So what we're going to do is we're selected in here. we're going to come up to type and we're going to come down to glyphs. And in here, you're going to find a ton of different things, but I am already have it's found here. It's selected. If you want the same exact box, I can tell you the number is 2610. You should be able to text that here, 2610, and it will come up. But there's a ton that you can scroll through. Goodness, there's so much in here of different types of symbols and whatnot. And this is just a few of them, because if you change to these different things, you can find different symbols. But let's stick with the box. I'm going to double click and to add it in there. Now that is quite small, so what I need to do, because this is a glyph, which is technically part of fonts, in order to make it bigger, you need to increase the font. So we're going to increase the font until it looks like what we would like. And that looks fine to me. So I'm going to copy, and we're going to, oops, I didn't mean to do that. And we're going to paste these into here. Okay. Now this, obviously we don't need this box to be this big, so we're going to go ahead and resize this. So double click in the table to get our double arrow, and then as we're dragging over, hold shift so we're only dragging this line and not resizing the whole table. Get it close to what we think it would be. That's perfectly fine. That makes me happy. And then this column is going to be date. So we don't need that so big either. So we're going to do the same thing here, hold shift, and we are going to drag this over smaller so that there's room for the date. And we want the most amount of room to be the actual action step anyway. That's going to be more text. Okay, so that's looking good. That's what we want it to look like right there. And now all we need is some headers here. I am just going to have a little box here, and this is going to say date. Whoops. We're going to say date, and we are going to make this our section header, and that looks good. Maybe we want to bring it down a little bit closer. All right, and now I'm going to do this again. Actually, we can hold Option and Shift and drag over, and then expand the box to the end if you want to do that. And we are going to say action steps. All right. And we are done with this side of the goal planner. We have our goal, start date, target date, our motivation and roadblocks, and our action steps. Now the other side is going to break down our actions even more. So let's create, and this one's going to be easy because we're just creating one little section, then we're copying it 5 times. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do on the right side here is we are going to create another box, and this box will be about 3 inches wide, and let's say 0.58 inches high. And we are going to apply our object style of boxes for boxes. I'm going to lower that a little bit. Now what we are going to do is I'm going to copy this over to the right just to see what we're working with as far as width. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make those a little bit wider. So I'm going to select both and I'm just going to drag it over to the margin. All right, so now we have that in place. Let's go ahead and delete that. Come in here. We are going to now create a table. And so table, create table, and it is going to be 4 rows and 2 columns. And I am going to make it the same width as the box ahead. So this is like the header box. I am now going to highlight this entire table, and I am going to apply our cell styles for our lines. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add some check boxes again. So I'm going to come down here. I'm just going to copy this one. So Command C, just so I don't have to go through the glyphs again. And we are going to come over here and we are going to paste in place. And that is way too big. So let's go ahead and bring that way down. And that looks better. So let's copy and then paste these in here. So next we are missing a line because I said 4. There we go. And we're going to paste that in there as well. Let's see. Let's make this table 8 millimeters. We don't need it quite so small. So select the table, right click, cell options, rows and columns, and we are going to say exactly 8 millimeters. All right, that's good. So actually those boxes do fit in there perfectly. So now what we want to do is we want to resize this here. So let's go ahead and select it in the table. Once you get your double arrow, when you're hovering over this line, we are going to hold shift and then we are going to drag to the left to make that column just wide enough for those boxes. And now let's see what we're working with. We want to get rid of the lines. We want to get rid of this top line and the lines underneath the boxes we don't really need. So let's go ahead and let's first highlight this one. And let's make sure we only have the top selected. And then we're going to get rid of that stroke. And now we want to highlight the first column and we want to get rid of all horizontal strokes. So just choose the horizontal ones. The vertical ones are already gone. And we're going to say 0 point. And now let's see how that's looking. Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. So let's go ahead and we can move it up a little bit. And that is exactly what I was wanting it to look like. Now all we need to do is we need to add a title up here. So let's, with the text type tool, we are going to create a box the same width. We are going to say action step. And we are going to make this the paragraph style section headers. And that looks pretty good. So basically you have your action step here, and then here is where you can break it down even more. So I'm going to group all of these together, and now we are just going to copy. So I'm holding Shift and Option or Shift and Alt, dragging it over to line it up with this margin. And now we are going to do the same thing, bringing it down, hold Option and Shift, click and drag down. This one's good to be centered. And then we can go ahead and duplicate again. There's a bit of open space in here, so we can go ahead and bring this down a few and bring this up a few. And just to not have such large gaps, but I think that looks pretty good. So that is our goal planner. All right, now let's turn this goal planner into our doggy theme. We're going to come over to our doggy themed planner and we are going to hit the plus to create a new spread. We are now going to go back and copy and paste this entire spread. So highlight everything, Command C or Control C. Come back over to your doggy planner and we will say edit, paste in place. All right, now we're going to spruce this up a little bit. We are going to, I think that my computer has had enough for today. All right, so we're just going to add a couple cute little PNGs. Let's go ahead here. Let's just make him that size. And then let's add another guy. We'll add him. I'm going to just overlap them a little bit like they're hanging out. Our little doggies. All right. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. All right, so our doggies are just hanging out up there. I'm going to come down here. I'm just going to fill with some of our colors. We have pink, but we got to bring that down, the opacity down a bit. We have blue. Again, I'm not opacity, but the tint. I do that a lot, I think. Oops. I think I did not do the fill. I did, there we go. Let's bring that down. That looks good. And then let's go ahead and add one more color. We have our tan, which I don't even know. Nope, we don't even need to bring the tint down at all. It's cute. We just added a little bit, and I don't think we really need to add anything over there. And there's our little doggy themed version of our goal planner. So that is it for today's episode. Again, I hope you learned something new and were able to come up with some new ideas. Please let me know in the comments if you have any questions or if I didn't show something that you feel you need to know or that you feel I missed. The next episode is actually episode 16, the one I've been talking about, where I will be addressing any questions you guys have had or anything you've wanted to see. I do have a couple things to add or that I have written down from you guys. It's not a whole lot, so I don't know how long the video will be, but that will be the next episode, and that will be followed by, there'll be one specifically for those of you creating digital planners, and then I will show you how to actually put the planner together now that you have all your parent pages made, and believe me, that is the easy part. So make sure you subscribe and hit the bell notification so you don't miss the upcoming episodes, and I will see you next time.